The transport shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere with practiced precision, its alien hull shimmering with colors that human eyes couldn't quite process. Inside, Lyra clutched the ceremonial scroll against her chest, her luminescent skin pulsing with nervous energy. The Zyrathian Empire had sent her across 3-star systems with a single purpose: to become the wife of humanity's greatest warrior. The Emperor sent me to be his wife, she whispered to herself, practicing the words in the harsh, angular human language. Her voice barely carried in the empty passenger hold. The shuttle touched down in the sprawling military complex outside New Geneva. Lyra descended the ramp on trembling legs, her diaphanous robes trailing behind her like captured starlight. A delegation of human officials waited, their faces unreadable masks of diplomacy. "Welcome to Earth," the lead ambassador said, bowing slightly. "We've prepared quarters for you. The ceremony will take place tomorrow." Lyra nodded, understanding only half the words. Her people had lost the war. This was the price of peace. Herself, offered as a bride to the human who had broken the Zyrathian fleet at the Battle of Kepler's Gate. Her emperor had chosen her personally from among 10,000 candidates, groomed her for this moment, taught her to be the perfect wife for humanity's champion. She was led through corridors of steel and concrete, so unlike the flowing organic architecture of home. Finally, they stopped before a reinforced door. "He's inside," the ambassador said, then added more gently, "He doesn't know you're coming." The Emperor's message arrived only an hour ago. The door slid open. Jason sat at a simple desk, still wearing his maintenance jumpsuit, grease staining his hands. He looked up, confusion spreading across his weathered face. He was perhaps 40 standard years, with gray threading through his dark hair and scars mapping a lifetime of service across his knuckles. This was humanity's greatest warrior? Lyra had expected gleaming armor, weapons, attendants. Instead, she found a tired man in a small room filled with repair manuals and half-assembled engine components. "Can I help you?" Jason asked, standing awkwardly. Lyra bowed low, the Zyrathian gesture of complete submission. "The Emperor sent me to be your wife," she whispered, her accent thick, but the words cleared. Jason's expression cycled through shock, confusion, and finally landed on something like horror. "What? No, there's been some mistake." "No mistake." She produced the scroll, its surface covered in the Emperor's personal seal. "I am Lyra of House Vendrith, daughter of the Crystal Provinces. The Emperor himself chose me for you, to seal the peace, to give you whatever you desire." Jason didn't take the scroll. Instead, he ran his hand through his hair, a gesture Lyra's tutors hadn't covered. "Listen, Lyra, right? There's been a massive misunderstanding. I'm nobody special. You destroyed the Imperial fleet," Lyra said, her training keeping her voice steady despite her growing confusion. "You are the warrior called the Engineer, the one who turned our own weapons against us. The Emperor sent his finest, sent me, to honor you." "I'm an engineer," Jason corrected, gesturing helplessly around the room. "Maintenance Division, 3rd Fleet. Yeah, I figured out how to hack your ship's systems during the battle. I was just trying to survive, same as everyone else." "But the records are propaganda," Jason said, his voice softening. "I'm sorry, I really am. But I'm not a warrior or a champion. I fix engines. I solve technical problems. The admirals took my hack and turned it into something bigger for the press releases." Lyra felt her world tilting. 3 months of preparation. The Emperor's blessing. The promise that she would secure peace through this union. All of it based on human war propaganda that her people had taken as truth. Then what? She started, her voice breaking. "What happens to me now?" Jason pulled out a chair. "Sit, please." He waited until she complied, then sat across from her. "First, you need to know that humans don't do arranged marriages anymore, especially not as war prizes. What your emperor proposed, it's not legal here, and more importantly, it's not right. But the peace is already done," Jason said firmly. "The treaty was signed 2 weeks ago. Nobody's going to war over this." He leaned forward, his eyes kind despite the absurdity of the situation. "You're not property, Lyra. You're a person. You shouldn't have been sent here like this." Lyra felt something break inside her chest. Not pain exactly, but the sudden absence of a pressure she'd carried for so long. "I don't understand your people." "That's fair." Jason admitted with a slight smile. We don't always understand ourselves. He stood and moved to a small communications panel. Let me contact the refugee office. They have programs for displaced aliens, translators, job training. You could stay on Earth if you want, or we can arrange passage anywhere else you'd prefer. I can choose. The concept felt foreign. Of course you can choose. That's what this whole war was about, wasn't it? Freedom. Self-determination. He paused at the panel, looking back at her. Look, I know this isn't what you expected, but maybe it's a chance to figure out what you want, not what an emperor wants for you. Lyra stood slowly, her legs steadier now than when she'd arrived. She looked at the scroll in her hands, the emperor's decree, his signature, his seal. With sudden clarity, she tore it in half. I choose, she said carefully, to learn what it means to be free. Jason's smile widened. That's a good start. Welcome to Earth, Lyra. Not as a bride, not as a prize, just as yourself. As he began making calls to help her, explaining her situation to various officials, Lyra realized something her emperor had never understood. Humanity's strength wasn't in their warriors or their weapons. It was in their stubborn insistence that every being had the right to choose their own path. Perhaps, she thought, that was why they'd won the war after all.